Thank you. This is an exciting time to be sharing children's ministry and connecting them in service and in missions giving. Tonight, we're going to look at three different avenues or funnels, if you will, about how we can implement our children into global and worldwide, stateside missions giving and missions serving. We're going to look at the first is culture, the second is calling, and the third one is cause. If you will follow along with me, I want to talk about culture first. What is the culture that you are creating in your children's ministry? What does it look like when they walk into the room? Is there going to be a lot of maps on the wall? Is there going to be pictures of missionaries? Are you going to have maybe a collection place for them to drop off items that you're collecting for a local project? So you need to make sure that you have a culture created in your children's ministry area for kids to see visibly what they're doing in places around the world. Your room definitely does not need to look like all the children in your children's ministry area. We want every ethnic group represented. We want them to see that God's children are all over the world and they come in every shape and size, in every color, in every background, and every language. And this just helps to sort of solidify for them that God can use them to touch and to reach people all around the world. Giving. The next one is to model. We want to make sure that we are modeling, and then we also want to spark initiative. We have some great young minds and we want to use them for the glory of the Lord. So what does it look like when we talk about setting up a culture of giving and of service? There are some stepping stones, if you will, that allows us to go into different areas, into different projects that we can get the kids involved. The first one, of course, is community outreach. What is something local that your children can become a part of to help touch the community? Perhaps there's a crisis pregnancy center. Give every child in your children's ministry an empty baby bottle, ask them to collect change to bring it back in, and then invite the director of the crisis pregnancy to come and to talk to the children about how their funds will make a difference. Perhaps there's one item that all the kids can take the money and collectively purchase for a young unwed mother that's in the crisis pregnancy center. So that helps to connect them to a local need, a local outreach that they can actually see and hear and talk to the person who has initiated this and know that they're a part of something in their community. You may also decide that you want to have some kind of collection for stuffed animals. We realize that not every child who comes to our children's ministry has access to funds, but there are so many police departments in our areas who has to go into a home, and perhaps they've already partnered with child protection services, and when they pick up these children they have nothing to give them. Ask your kids to pick out that favorite stuffed animal or something out of their collection to bring back, and it helps them to give and to learn sacrifice. It also helps them to see that even an item that I had that had no value, I didn't bring money, I didn't have to ask grandma or mom or dad for something or do something. It's something that come from them, that they can be a part of touching someone in the community. The next stepping stone is school. Wow, what a fantastic opportunity of outreach for an open door. Perhaps your church is close to a school district or even close to a school building. Wouldn't it be wonderful to adopt a teacher? Let your children decide if they want to adopt the school or the teacher. Perhaps they want to pick an item that can be donated and ask the children to come up and spark some of that initiative and that interest and let it be their idea of how they want to help. Also, there can be a prayer time. What is a need that we can pray for your school about? And let the kids know that their prayer mission service and mission giving is just as important as the money that they drop into the offering plate. The next step is church and community. Of course, we talk about missions and mission service in our church services, and many churches still have a missions service that is designated just for sharing what's going on in other countries. We in our organization have a wonderful opportunity every 2 years when we have missionaries and overseers from all over the world to come. And what a wonderful time for you to invite them to come and sit down with the children, maybe share a meal, throw a picnic or a party for them and celebrate the missionary being. But let them hear firsthand the stories, the needs, the prayer requests that are going on in those areas. And it helps for the kids to make a connection, that it's not just someone who lives in a faraway country, but they get to realize that children in another country have the same needs and wants and desires and hopes and dreams, and helps to give a connection. We hear many stories of children who their mission interest was sparked as a child when they heard a missionary share their story. So give that opportunity to have that one-on-one. Of course, there's always social media that you can keep, stay in contact with missionaries and leaders around the world, and also write to them. Let the kids maybe send a care package. The next stepping stone would be family outreach. This is a wonderful time to get our families involved as a core group. They may want to adopt an angel off the angel tree, or perhaps your church has a food pantry and they want to bring something. Tell the kids, bring your favorite snack, whatever that is, and let's bring that and donate it to another family. You may choose someone in your own local church that you know needs a little help at the holidays. It gives the kids an opportunity to see that I can take from the blessing and the increase that God has already blessed me and my family with and help someone else. We put lots of money, lots of emphasis on money, which is always important, but I want the kids to see that it's giving from the heart and always creating that culture of giving and service, that it's not just limited to our funds. The last one, which is near and dear to my heart, is global and outreach missions. Of course, we have opportunities to be able to connect with overseers, to connect with missionaries and families in need. Let the kids have a map and let each child pinpoint the place that they want to pray for. And every Sunday, maybe you rotate which country, which area, which nation that is prayed for, and also have a list of needs. Maybe they want to do a care package and let the kids bring things that they have, or they know that they have needs in their family. It may be something as simple as pencils, or it could be an offering or a piece of clothing, and let them be a part of tangibly giving an item to someone else in another country. We want to give these stepping stones an opportunity for the kids to reach out and say, what works for you? What is something that God has used in you that you can bless another area with? The next is to model generosity. This is very important because we've already set up the culture. We know we have a culture for missions, giving, and service, but we also want to model that. As a young girl, I remember seeing my parents many times fold up money and slip it into the hand of a visiting missionary, or many times people who lived in our own city. And so because I saw that as a young child, it just came natural as I got older. Our kids need to see us actively participating. If we have an item that we're bringing for church, let them see you. Ask them to help you carry it from the car to the inside. Let them see you being a part of what is going on in either local or global outreach in your church, but model that. You may want to ask them to go alongside the ushers on Mission Sunday offering and let them help to be a part of that, so that they're always incorporated in what's going on with missions around the world or in our local area. The next one I want to talk about is calling. I think our calling for our kids are so important. And there's so many times that we look at the callings of preaching or teaching or disciples, deacons, worship leaders. There are all kinds of ways that God calls us. But I want us to look outside the box today and remember God calls what I like to call generosity leaders. Who is that young man or young woman in your children's ministry that they get so excited when they hear about a project and you say, we're going to take up $10, and they say, no, we want to do 25. And maybe they come up with something outside of the box in order to raise these funds. Be sure to encourage that calling with them. God has blessed people with different abilities. Sometimes art is used to touch lives. Sometimes it's preaching. Sometimes it's teaching. But you may have that young man or woman that God has anointed them specifically to be able to connect funds with needs. And so be sure and to encourage them in that, pray with them in that, and let them know that's just as important as any other ministry, but that God calls each of us to do something. We want to encourage them just like we would for preachers and teachers, that God can use them in that calling. I'm going to talk a little bit about the generation that we're reaching right now in what is called Gen Z. And if we look at our 7 to 12-year-olds, there's some statistics I want to share with you when it comes to giving. This is according to the generational giving infographics. And it says that 1 in 10 of your 7 to 12-year-olds will start their own nonprofit. 50% of this age group is looking for somewhere to volunteer at. They have been coined as the philanthro kids in ages 7 to 12 because they have already given more than any generation at this age. And 30% of your 7 to 12-year-olds have already donated to a cause. These stats just make me so excited because of the future, not only what's coming, but what they're already doing for our missions, outreach, and giving. So we have such an opportunity with this group of young people, 7 to 12-year-olds, to not only take what they have already done and what they're already giving, but then to increase that and say, this is how God can use you, and then to funnel it towards the projects that we know are going to make an eternal, lasting difference in someone's life. Encourage these philanthro kids to be creative. When we talk about the Sparking Initiative, we had a young lady at a Tennessee camp who wanted to raise money for a cause, and she had no job. She had no way to come up with raising money. So at the Tennessee campground, she began to collect rocks and ask if people would buy these river rocks. And before it was over with, about $1,800 had been collected because she thought outside the box. We could have just as easily said, no, that's not the conventional way to do it, but spark that initiative, no matter how crazy it may sound or out of the box that it may sound to us. Let God use that creativity that He has blessed them with, and then it will help them not to put a list on the giving or the types of giving, but it will help them to see that in our missions outreach and our mission service and our missions giving, God can use any avenue. So I encourage you to use the uniqueness of these young minds and imaginations. And it amazes me so many times when we give out a certain amount and say, do you think you can raise $10 or $20? And they're like, no, ma'am, we can raise 100. So don't put a lid on their giving, their excitement, their enthusiasm. Let God use them in the creative ways that He has already put in their life and their heart. And remember to remind them that missions giving, missions outreach and service is a balance. It's not all going overseas. It's not all staying locally, but it needs to be a shared responsibility that we give to our local outreaches, our community outreaches, but just as important as our brothers and sisters around the world who have such limited resources that needs our help. One of the things that I'm so excited about the opportunity for our children in this organization is a brand new initiative called Kids Serve. Kids Serve has just been launched. It is through the Church of God of Prophecy, and it is a new outreach, a new excitement, a new opportunity for you to connect your kids. And what a fantastic name, Kids Serve. We want our kids to realize it's not just what you drop into an offering bucket. It's not just the money or the check, but it's what you do in your everyday life, serving others, that counts, that makes an eternal difference. Kids Serve initiative is a great reminder that each of us, no matter what our age is, can be used. And I want to remind you today to always make sure your children know God can use, from the youngest to the oldest, whatever your age gap may be. He has a plan for every one of them. And that's what Kids Serve does. We want to connect needs and projects around the world with our children. And it also gives them a glimpse into the life, the lifestyle, maybe some of the challenges that some of our kids face around the world. But it also connects them to the need and to the project. The giving project that has been adopted for this first year of Kids Serve is the El Salvador Build a School project. Just a few months ago, a team was able to go to El Salvador and see firsthand some of the needs that were actually in each of the areas. And we went to several churches and met with the pastors and the leaders there. While we were there, we met with some men and women who have already started phenomenal ministries. And God has opened up the door that they are ministering to over 2,000 children a day. And this includes feeding them meals. Many of them, it's the only meal that they would have that day. It includes an education. We got to experience some of the young people who started very young and then now have graduated and will be going to university soon. It also gives them resources and activities, and it gives them relationship and community. El Salvador, you'll be able to find all of this information on the website and the Kids Serve page. But El Salvador is one of the most dangerous areas in a dangerous nation in this area. But we believe that God has called us to be a light to them and to be a connection to them, to help not only say, hey, we're investing in what you're doing right now, but we believe God has an explosive future for El Salvador and the children in El Salvador. If I told you today that every day, 40 children under the age of 12 were murdered in El Salvador, would that touch your heart? If I told you that every day that there is a huge number of children in El Salvador that lives on literally $1.25 a day, would that touch your heart? It will be easy for us to take out a dollar bill and a quarter and to show the children our children's ministry. This is all that these kids are able to have a day, but God can use you to change their life. And because of this initiative, we are believing for $110,000. We want every child to be able to be a part of this project, to bring their resources, to come in and to share what God has given them. If you go to the COGOP website /children/KidServe, you'll be able to find out more information. We have project guides. You'll be able to make pupusas with the children. You'll be able to share some downloadable media. We have a wonderful video of the kids singing Waymaker song. Maybe you'll teach this to your children in Spanish. But God can use you and your children's ministry, not only in giving, but in serving in your backyard and around the world.